Hey there, gang. It is time for another grading video, and this time out we are going to be looking at some early issues of Iron Man from the Silver Age. So, if you like comic books, if you are interested in learning how to grade comics, or you just want to see how I do it, well then stick around. We're going to have some fun. Hey there, Bubby. Welcome to Shanghalla. My name is Duke, and this is a grading video. So please do like, share, subscribe, comment away, do all the groovy things. Let's not waste any time. Let us get right to it. I will just stay up front, as always, as regular viewers know, I am grading these books for sale on eBay. The seller name is .com Comics. Pretty much my full-time job is grading the books that my company sells there. The company is Vintage Comic Books LLC. It's located in Freeport, Maine. We do business online at .comcomics.com and sellmycomicbooks.com. We sell our CGC books at comiclink.com. That's a third-party company. We do have a retail store located in Freeport, Maine called .com Comics. And again, .com Comics is the seller name on eBay. These are what we call raw singles. They are bound to be single book lots on eBay. Those we do grade. I'm the guy who grades those books, and so grading comics is about 30 hours of my regular work week. So let's get right to it. And if you have anything to say, if you want to take me to task for anything that I may happen to say in this video, if you want to disagree with me in any way, that's totally cool. Do so in the comments below, or if you'd rather, you can always email me, duke@shanghalla.com. So we'll take a look here. We're going to be looking at issues 2 through 9 of Iron Man. And this is a pretty decent looking issue. Now, we do have a lot of degradation of the paper quality. There's very little gloss here. And I've tried not to put too much light on it so you don't get glare. But I do hope that if I move it around a little bit in the light, you can see what gloss there is, but take it from me, there's not much. And also, we can see that we're starting to tan up right up here in this white area. White areas are always hard because there's no color to kind of hide the aging of the paper. Otherwise, we're not too bad. The top corners here are blunted. If I hold it this way, you may be able to see that a little better. The spine is okay. We've got some spine wear, quite a bit of spine wear, especially right in through here, although we don't have much in the way of spine tears. No tears going this way, except, a few light ones around the bottom staple here. Unfortunately, we do have a long piece here. Now, this is only maybe about 1/8 of an inch high, but it does go, I need a better ruler where the numbers will show you a little better. And I'd say that is about 2 1/4 inches long. You can see that chunk out right there. So that's our big damage. Then we have some blunting down here, a little stress there, and what you often see is some rips and a little tiny chunk out here on the well, not so much rips, but kind of some blunting damage here, and that is basically from when the book is held. Someone tends to hold it here like that, and it gets held a little too tightly. So here we can see some tanning on the inside cover. We'll look at the back cover, and that's tanned up fairly decently as well. You can see we got a chunk here out of the back cover, and some more tanning. And the pages are starting to tan a bit as well. We want to check our centerfold and make sure that that is there and tight. So 12 to 13 on the page numbers. That looks right. It feels right, so I don't feel like I need to count the pages. And then you always want to look at that first page. We already did, but just to remind you, always look at the first page. That's where generally if somebody's going to write something, they'll write it here. So I think this book we're going to call a 4. Now this could be, our big defects here. You've got some small handling damage with the blunting on the corners and the little fold right there, the light fold. The big damage though is the blunting in here with that little chunk out and the little chunk out on the back. even with that, this could be a 4.5. Probably wouldn't go up to a 5 just because of the tanning. But with this piece out right here, this long piece, I think I'm going to go with a 4. Now, I don't need to go up down to a 3.5, I don't think, because the book is nice and tight, it's whole, it's complete. Now, you might see, if you went by the Overstreet grading guide and went strictly by that, you might say that, well, with that 2.25 length piece out, that that can't be any higher than a 3. You might be generous and give it a 3.5 based on that. But I'm one of those who thinks that, grading is subjective. You can't take the Overstreet, everything in the Overstreet literally. If it says, this defect means no higher than this grade, you have to assess the entire quality of the book. And I think that but for the tanning and these two little chunks here and here, this book isn't that bad. It presents nicely. So that I don't think I need to go below a 4. I think it does need to be at least a 4. But I don't think it needs to go below a 4. Even with this piece out right here. So you let me know in the comments below. Do you agree? Do you think this should be a 3.5 or even a 3? Do you maybe lean the other way? Do you think that could be a 4.5? I know some people who would call this a 4.5, and maybe even some who would go all the way to a 5, but I'm going to split the difference between those two extremes, and I'm going to call that a 4. So there you go. Moving on, this is issue number 3. My friend, my foe, the fearsome freak. Stan loved alliteration, didn't he? So on this one, we have a kind of an accumulation of smaller defects. We got a little pinhole in this corner and some folding here, a lighter fold right there, some blunting and edge wear along that edge. We've got a fold here. It's just kind of about right there where you see my pen going. It doesn't go all the way across, but we do have some blunting and a little chip out in that corner. This corner has some blunting, and now we do have some spine stress lines here. You can see where I'm pointing them with my pen, and we have quite a few more down along the edge, some fairly heavy ones, and we have a vertical crease right here that breaks color, and there's a little dudut right there that breaks color. I don't know if dudut is a word where you live. Here among the French Canadians in Western Maine, dudut is it's a little thing, a little tiny thing. The back, we do have some tanning. We do have some blunting right here. That's kind of been something heavy has sat there and kind of crushed the spine in a little bit. But otherwise it kind of looks okay. The inside, just some light tanning around the edges of the pages, and you might have seen the back cover we skipped by. It had some tanning around the edges as well, but the centerfold looks okay. So this is a it's nice and tight. It is complete. It's an accumulation of smaller defects. I would be inclined to give this a 5 or maybe even a 5.5, but for the tanning. There's quite a number of stress lines here on the spine, and we do have, as had that vertical one and this pinhole here. And this, because it is on the black, shows up quite. It looks worse than it really is, but again, looks are everything where grading is concerned. I would be inclined to go 5, maybe even 5.5, except for the tanning. The pages are kind of off-white and tanning around the edges and the inside covers. I hope that you can see here, the difference between here on this edge and kind of further up here towards the middle. So I think I'm going to go with 4.5 on that one, just because of the paper quality. Like I said, otherwise it could be a 5 or maybe even a 5.5. Now this one looks pretty good. This looks pretty good. This looks like a nice mid-grade book. And what's a mid-grade book? A 6.0, a fine. And a fine book should look like a book that's got some wear but has been carefully handled. This looks like it's been carefully handled. You don't have any folds or turning back of any of the corners. Only really minor blunting on the corners. A little bit of a blunting right here. Again, that's where somebody was holding it as they read it. This looks like it's been read a few times, but again, handled carefully. You can see here, no real hard spine stresses or tears. They certainly didn't, roll back the pages as they read it. The back page looks okay. Now, unfortunately, we've got some fairly heavy tanning down here along the bottom. We've got kind of a little micro tear right there, but we have this small, maybe a little less than a 1/4 inch corner out here, and it's not just folded back. If we look here, we can see it's actually missing. This tanning got brittle enough that that corner broke off at some point. It probably was folded, and then because of the fold and the degradation of the paper, it broke off. Now on this one, the edges are kind of still tanning off white, but the center of the page is much whiter than the last couple of issues we looked at. Where's our center fold? Right there, nice and tight. So this one at first glance I would have called it a 6, and I might have been inclined to go to a 6.5, but because that corner is actually torn off, and because of the fairly heavy tanning on the inside covers all around the edges, which I hope you can see, I'm going to go down to a 5 on that one. And just if you haven't seen one of these videos before, what I'm writing here, when I grade a book, I make a list of all the books that I'm grading in the and putting in this box. Normally the box goes to another person, and that is Sean, what we call Small Sean, because one of the owners of the company is also named Sean. We have Tall Sean and Small Sean. Small Sean does the actual listings for eBay and scans the cover of the book. And so this list goes to Sean, and I list here any defects, such as centerfolds loose or cover detached from the top staple, or anything that would not be evident in the scan of the book that we put up on eBay, and that those defects are listed in the description of the book for the eBay listing. These I'll probably be listing myself because Sean is out on paternity leave. He has recently had his first baby, or I should say his wife had their first baby. He's there for moral support. But over the last year, Sean has got married, bought a house, and had a baby. So he's done a whole lot of adulting in a hurry. So if you're in a mood and you want to help Sean out, I would recommend that you go to eBay, go to theseller.com comics, and search for a book called What Am I Doing With My Life? Sean actually produces that book himself. He's a big fan of the Undergrounds, and he wrote and drew and published this book himself. I think the issues are like $5 each. Again, they're Undergrounds, so you got to be kind of into that type of book, or you just want to help a dude out and go ahead and buy at least an issue of one of those, and that'll help keep Sean and his wife in diapers and baby food. So that's my recommendation. I'm not begging you for anything from me, but go help out Sean if you've a mind to do that. All right, so I haven't had any defects to list for those other ones. This one looks pretty decent. Again, the spine looks good. We just have some kind of light tears here, a little blunting here, blunting in these corners, some wear on that edge, a little heavier blunting right here. The bigger issue is the tanning, and you can see it down here at the bottom, and even this white section, which really probably originally would have made old Shellhead pop right there, that red and yellow in the middle of that white. But with the loss of cover gloss and the aging of the paper, as evidenced in this white section, it's not so good. Not so good. And you can see the heavier browning here as well. And this almost looks like a dust shadow because it's such a straight line. That's almost what it looks like. Or at least something was covering that, leaving this open to the air. Otherwise, it looks good. We have the same kind of micro tear up here in this corner that I hope you can see. Maybe if I actually put it on the screen, you could see it a little better. Right there. Just a tiny, tiny little micro tear. And again, fairly heavy on the tanning around the inside covers, although the pages themselves, but for some off-white around the edges, the pages themselves look pretty good. But there's just something about the interaction between the slick cover and the paper that causes the covers, the inside of the covers, to age. And you can see, I hope, the browning here, the tanning here, as opposed to, again, the middle is not brilliantly white. It's off-white too, but you can definitely see a difference from here to here. So I think I'm going to call that a 5. That would be a good candidate for a 6 or maybe even a 6.5, but you know, because of the aging of the paper. Oh, and we do also have right here like a little, about a 1/4 inch rip right there. Hope you can see that where my pen is pointed. So I'm going to end up calling that one a 5 as well. But no defects to list. And now let's look at issue number 6. We've got a larger issue this time out. This one's got a few more issues. We have a rip here. It's not a bottom spine split. A spine split would be right, on the spine. This we'll describe as a rip, and that is probably about 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch. Let's take a look here. Boom. Yeah, it's about 3/4 of an inch. And then you can see here, this corner, we've got the corner, again, not just rolled back, but missing. And this whole, every page here is kind of rolled on that corner. And we've got some fairly heavy blunting up through here with some horizontal creases. Some blunting up here. Some color breaking stress around that top staple. Some color fading on the corner box. And you can see the browning on the back. That back is also missing a little bit of a corner, you can see right there. Plus we have 2 small rips here and here. Browning on the inside, a little chip out up there. I think we're going to have a loose centerfold. I can kind of feel it coming. 12, 13, nope. It's not loose, but this page is kind of rolled on the corner right in there. Somehow, see, I saw that as I held it like this. I could see that sticking out and being rolled back. And I thought maybe that would indicate the centerfold was loose, but it's not. It's there, it's nice and tight. I think it just, for some reason, in the manufacturing process, stuck out a little bit. And so, however this was stored, it bumped up against something and crushed that edge in. Trying to get that out. So there you can see. And from this side, you can see we've got a few tears here, mostly micro tears, but a little larger one right there, if you can see it on my finger. And down here as well. So I think that one we're going to call a 4. We're going to call that one a 4. I don't think we need to go down to a 3.5 just because it's complete, nothing missing really, except for, well, those corners. Actually, I am going to go down to 3.5 because if you were to try and press this and put it under a hot press and fix the roll on those pages right there, you would still be missing, see if I can do it for you. See, you're still going to be missing about a 1/2 inch corner there. So I'm going to go to 3.5 on that. I would have, I can't really go down to a 3, I don't think. I don't think generally that it needs to go down to a 3. It's not that worn. But with those two pretty major defects, You know, because if you took away that, if you took away that right there, you know, and assumed that was fine, and took away that rip, you'd be at a 5 at least. Maybe 4 or 5 with all the, well, probably, yeah, 4 or 5 with all the chips and the browning. But I don't think that needs to go down to a 3. You let me know in the comments below what you think. But as I said, I'm going to go with a 3-5. Now we come to issue number 8. A duel must end. This one's a little rougher. This one's a little rougher. Now it's fairly complete and it's square, but we have quite a bit of folding here on this edge, and that's blunted in. Blunting along here. Some heavy blunting and crushing along here. With looks like that top piece there is loose. You've got vertical stressing, you've got edge wear, edge rolling, some vertical stressing. So this one, obviously, when it was read, the pages were folded back. You've got a lot of color wear, and you got a little bit of a, it's not really a rip, but it's unsightly. Some browning on the back. Somebody's written their initials, JV. Either that or this team was shared by the junior varsity football team. You got some little chips down here at the bottom. Let's look inside. Pretty significant tanning there on the bottom. You can see another chip out right here. So I think this one I'm going to go with a 4 as well. I'm going to go to a 4. No real defects to note, because, I mean, this will be obvious enough on the scan. They'll see that. They should. You do get people who bid, you know, on their phones, and they don't take a really good look at the photo, and then they'll get mad at you. But that's, you know, if you're doing your due diligence and looking, and again, we provide not just a photo, but an actual high-resolution scan of the book. That's pretty hard to miss. But I think I'm going to go with a 4 just because now without that initial, well, you know, I still might be at a 4 because it's pretty heavily tanned on the edges. And we do have, you know, a fair degree of chipping on the edges. And with that spine roll, I think I'm still going to go with a 4. What do you think? Would you go to a 4 or 5? Do you think that's a 3? You know, these half degrees are, you know, they can be significant, especially as you get up higher in the grades. Now, this is a popular issue because of the Hulk, but I think I remember, yeah. Can you see this? Now that's a top spine split. We call that a spine split because it is right on the edge of the spine. And that goes down to there. That's halfway down the book. That is... That's a 5 3/4 inch spine split. That's significant. That is significant. And you've got some blunting along the edge here. You've got pretty significant blunting here. I don't know how well you can see this, but you've got multiple fold lines here where it looks like this edge was folded back more than once. And you can see here this little piece of the corner is out. We've got fairly heavy stressing, and we also have about a 1/4 inch bottom spine split. So it's really just this bottom staple that's keeping the cover on. We've got about a 1/2 inch tear there. This corner has multiple stresses all along, like that also got folded back. We also have a little chunk, in addition to the spine split, there's a little chunk out there. We've got some blunting and chipping along the top. This, I don't know how well you can see this, but there's a fold here. It's a light fold. It doesn't make an actual crease, so it's more in the way of maybe a bend, not in the whole book, but just in that back cover. and then one here. Now let's look inside. See what we've got. Well, that is it's a 1/2-inch rip right there in that last page. Second to last, so last 2 pages. Some of these inner pages are just folded back, so that's not a big deal. I think we might have. Yes. Yes. Well, is it loose or not? It is. The centerfold is detached from the bottom staple. Ooh, and that is a larger rip than I thought. That's about a 1/2-inch rip right there. Maybe even a full inch? No, 3/4 of an inch. Yeah, I'd go 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch. So this one I'm going to call it 2.0. Because it's got... Now, I might be able to get to a 3. You know, the 1/2-inch rip in the front cover and that rolling, you know, along with the tanning and the chipping along the top. That might be a 3. Maybe a 2.5 if I was in a bad mood. Ooh, actually, we got a little corner out here, too. I don't know if I mentioned that. Oh, yeah, that's part of that 1/2-inch bottom spine split. You know, and the centerfold attached and some rips to the inner pages. It could be a 2.5, 3, 3.5, depending on my mood that day. But with this giant top spine split, and oh, actually, now this is interesting. The front cover is still attached. We've got the spine split, but I don't need to note that the front cover is detached from the top staple. I said earlier it was only the bottom staple holding it, but that front cover is still attached. Now you can see it's just kind of holding on. It's not going to take much to pry that out of there. But as of right now, anyway, it is still, well, at least half attached still. But that's a pretty significant spine split. That's not a book that most people are going to want. You know, and it's funny because the first few editions of the Overstreet Comic Book Price Guide listed 2.0 good, and this is why it's called good. It seems counterintuitive that a book nobody would want is called good, but it was described as the average condition of the average used comic book. And that just sort of goes to show how the market and the industry have changed since those first price guides came out in the early 70s. I think the first Overstreet price guide was 1971. And so back then, the comic book stores were not really a thing yet. You had a few stores that specialized in back issues, but you did not have the direct sales market. You didn't have people... active collectors. You had active collectors, but you didn't have pretty much everybody who bought a comic book reading it once, if at all, and putting it directly into a bag with a board. So a greater percentage of books were in lower grade because they had been heavily used and handled prior to entering the secondary market. These days, you might say that the average comic book is maybe a 7.0, not a 2.0. So 2.0 is not very desirable. But I'm going to call that a 2.0. Now, would you go down to a 1.8 because of the length of that? I'm not going to go down to a 1.8 just because the book generally presents as, you know, decent, and there's nothing missing other than like these little small corners here, but nothing that affects the book. And it is generally tight, but for that centerfold being detached from the bottom staple. When I think of a 1.8, I think of something that's like truly unsightly. But anyway, I'm going to go with a 2 on that. And there we go. That is it, my friends. That's that grading video. Let me know what you thought. Let me know where you disagree with me. Let me know any other tips or tricks or ideas or thoughts you might have on the grading process. And until the next video, let me just grab old Hal Jordan here. Not Hal Jordan. What am I thinking? John Stewart. I don't know. I'm completely colorblind. I don't know one Green Lantern from the other. Anyway, until next time, goodbye, good luck, and please be good to each other.